Hello and welcome if you're new to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Swiss kitchen appliance brand VZug. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things, whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying quality from the get-go, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on quality under the radar brands, then my content is geared towards you. VZug is a privately run family business that was started in 1913 and it's owned by Heinz Berhofer and his family. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's a Swiss brand. The Swiss are very similar to the Germans, who are known for their precision, phenomenal engineering, the high build quality of their products. The Swiss are exactly the same, except they dial it up a notch. They have to be the very best. They produce the best products using the best quality raw materials. The focus is on using the best technology, creating the best technology when it comes to their products, highly innovative, game-changing products. That is the Swiss, and that is VZug to a T. They were the first brand to introduce combination steam ovens into the domestic environment. They also produce combi ovens for a well-known American brand at the top end of the market, Wolf. And they were in London just before the pandemic. They decided to close and move. They were available in a number of kitchen showrooms. They didn't have their own showroom as such. And they thought, London's not where our target market is. But during the pandemic, they had a chance to rethink, and they've come back and opened their own showroom on Wigmore Street, known as Kitchen Alley. They're located literally directly opposite Gaggenau and about a minute's walk from Mila. And on Kitchen Alley, you have a number of the top-end kitchen designers. So they're in a fantastic location. I remember the last time I was in the showroom, literally a couple of weeks ago, an architect walked in with his client. They'd never heard of VZug, but they saw VZug opposite the Gaggenau showroom where they had an appointment earlier. But they liked the look and feel of VZug products, and they came in and found out a lot more information and really liked the product, and they were going to explore the product further. I like VZug because they're bringing in much needed competition into the space. They are literally the cat amongst the pigeons. Top end of the market is dominated by Gaggenau and Mila, but they are coming in with a phenomenal product. And I look forward to talking about VZug in a lot more detail when I compare and contrast at the end of the series with Gaggenau, with Mila, and a couple of other brands. They also have a fantastic website with a lot of highly informative videos detailing their products, how they work. Products are very easy to use, aesthetic, neat, very clean, highly intuitive products to use. What I also really like about VZug, and this stands out about them, is the aesthetic of the products is the same regardless of the level. They have 3 levels of ranges. They have the entry level known as V2000, they have a mid-range V4000, and they have a top range V6000. The aesthetic on all of them is exactly the same. So nobody feels hard done by that. They can't afford a higher spec. They're getting the exact same spec. The difference is in the functionality, the features of the products. Obviously, entry-level V2000 is very different to V6000. But what you also have, and at the moment it's only available in Switzerland, and I also think in Germany, if you buy, for example, V2000, when you have more money, you're able to upgrade the software and upgrade to either V4000 or V6000 when your budget permits. That feature is not available in any other countries, but they are working towards doing the same for their other markets, and that is absolutely game-changing and fantastic. You start with V2000, and then you can upgrade, and you're keeping the same appliance. Absolutely fantastic. I like that, a big bonus when it comes to the brand. I'm going to talk about their core kitchen appliance products, ovens, steam ovens, refrigerators, wine coolers, and their laundry equipment. And I'll talk about each of them, and my focus will be on either V6000 or if they have a top feature, just detailing some of the best features, functions that they have. VZug refrigerators are made by a company called Fiaba. I'm going to attach above the video where I talk briefly about that. They're built to an incredibly high standard. Fiaba is focused on producing just refrigerators. They produce refrigerators for a number of other brands. And the focus is very much on very high quality materials, high quality build, as well as the technology to ensure you're maintaining the temperatures at a low level and consistently. That is where the magic is when it comes to Fiaba and also VZug refrigerators. Top-end line V6000 is also referred to as the Supreme line. You have two options when it comes to the Supreme line, either standalone separate unit fridge and freezer, or you have the combined fridge on top, freezer at the bottom. But what you also get with the V6000 is the option to create what's called a mono fridge. With the mono fridge, you can have one temperature setting in the top compartment as well as the bottom compartment. And you have the option of temperatures between -2 through to 8 degrees when you are V6000. Ordinarily, you just have temperature options of between 3 to 6 degrees. Also in the refrigerators, you have the stainless steel interior, you have the OptiLift, so you are able to move the shelving up and down without actually removing the shelves. You also have the telescopic runners, so they very smoothly come in and out as well. And then you have the soft close when it comes to the door. In the freezing department, you have a number of features. You have automatic defrost. You have no frost function, so there's no frost accumulation in the freezer. You also have a quick cooling option, so if you put in food and you need it to cool down very quickly, it's able to cool down but gently without affecting the quality of the food. And then you also have an ice maker function with the freezers. Moving on to wine coolers. Wine coolers, top end V6000, the Supreme line. Top end, you have holding capacity of 83 bottles. 2 temperature zones in the wine coolers between 5 to 20 degrees. You have the fully extendable shelving, telescopic runners in and out, so it's very smooth opening and closing, but they're fully extendable and they're wooden. You have the lighting throughout. And then on the outside, the door, you have the UV protection, so you don't get any ultraviolet rays coming in and affecting the quality of the wine. Soft open and close when it comes to the door, very smooth, quiet movement, so you also don't affect the bottles. You also have inside the wine cooler, you have the charcoal filters, which are able to clean the air of bacteria as well as any odors. When you look at the different brands, Miele, Gaggenau, I'll talk in detail at the end, the wine coolers are pretty similar. You don't get a lot of variation. It's very much down to the aesthetic and also the temperature zones, whether you're getting 3 or 2 temperature zones, and the lighting, where it's positioned, the type of wood and so forth. But in terms of functionality, they're all very similar. In this section, I'm going to talk about ovens, steamers, combi steamers, Comber steamers, power steamer, and also the Grand. When it comes to the ovens, steamers, and so forth, you have 2 options, either handled or handle-less. With the handle, you have a handle, open and close. And with the handle-less, there's a button to open and close the door. And it's both a soft open and close. You also have on the appliances a touch screen on the front. As I mentioned before, it's incredibly intuitive. If you were to try and use the appliance without reading the manual first, you wouldn't actually struggle. It would be very easy to figure your way, to work your way around the appliance. As I mentioned, very clean, neat aesthetic for all of the different ranges, minimizing on buying additional equipment, so it's incredibly sustainable. The brand is very much focused on sustainability. And all you do is upgrade the software if you decide to move from V2000 to a higher specification. But looking at, starting with the ovens, With the ovens, you have a number of features. Firstly, you have the top clean. You have an enamel top coat in the oven. Makes it a lot easier to clean the appliance. You have pyrolytic self-cleaning throughout the appliances. You also have the temperature probe, a 3-point temperature probe. It takes the temperature at 3 points. Fantastic when you're preparing prime cuts of meat, for example. You also have the Sabbath mode, where the appliance, if it's not going to be used for a prolonged period of time, it reduces on the amount of energy that is being used and also maintaining the appliance. You have another feature where a light automatically comes on when a program comes to the end. You have a rotisserie as well. And you also have a number of programs that are already programmed within the appliance. When it comes to functions, you have, for example, a Baker-matic. The appliance is able to figure out the size and the shape of the item that needs to be baked and then recommend the appropriate time and also temperature. There is soft roasting, fantastic for prime cuts of meat. You use the wired-in probe, put it into the piece of meat, and because it takes the temperature at 3 points, it's able to literally cook the piece of meat, the prime piece of meat, to perfection. You won't have any issues at all, as it's able to take precise temperature settings, and you know at what point of preparation the piece of meat is. And then you also have a function called Easy Cook, where the appliance is able to recommend the best mode of preparation for whatever it is that you're trying to prepare, and therefore recommend the time and also the required temperature to prepare the item. So that's literally ovens V6000 in a nutshell. Steamers, interior of the steamers is stainless steel, and what you'll find with all of the appliances that have the steam function, all of them with the exception of the Combi Steam, have external storage. So you have a tank you fill up with water, and then it generates the steam and introduces it into the appliance. You don't have water directly coming into the appliance, which potentially can cause pockets of lime scale. But with the Combi Steam, you do have the option of the external tank or the plumbed in water, which then introduces water into the appliance. But with everything, it's a tank that's external to the appliance, generates the steam, and then introduces it into the appliance. With the steamer, it's for steaming vegetables, meat, for example. Also has the sous vide function. And then the Combi, you also have the Combi steamer, which is hot air and steam. You have Cashmere steamer, which is an oven, a full oven and steam. And then you also have the Cashmere, which is just the oven on its own. Moving up, you have an appliance called the Power Steam. Power Steam is very much a game changer within the kitchen appliance space. VZug are the only brand in the market at the moment that have an appliance with all 3 in 1: the oven, the steamer, and also the microwave. The distinct advantage is, firstly, the item is built to an incredibly high build quality. The quality is fantastic. The technology is absolutely amazing. It's game changing. And what you ultimately end up with is an appliance that significantly reduces the cooking time without affecting the quality, the integrity of the food. So with the Power Steam, you have 4 different functions. The first is the Power Steam. It's able to prepare food, reduces cooking time by 30% without at all affecting the quality of the food, whether it's the texture, the color, the vitamins, the taste at all. What is expected. It does not affect the integrity of the food at all. The second is the Power with hot air. Power hot air is amazing for baking. It's for items that need to retain the moisture in the middle, cakes, bread, for example. And then you have the harder surface on the outside, for example, reduces cooking time by 30%. You also have Power hot air and steam, and that is fantastic for cooking items such as lasagna or chicken, where you need the item to be moist in the middle, and then on the outside you need it to either be crispy or a little crunchy with lasagna, with chicken, for example. And then you also have another function, a final function, called Power regeneration. Great for reheating food that's been prepared before, able to very quickly and evenly reheat the food without drying it out. And again, reduces preparation time by 30%. And then from the Power Steam, Recently, VZug have introduced a new appliance called the Grand. Grand is a big 90 centimeter wide appliance. You get in the appliance a convection oven with two fans, twin fans, able to generate enough heat to adequately fill the appliance, evenly heated, also without affecting the quality of the food. It very gently prepares the food without drying it out. Within the Grand, you have three telescopic runners. You have three shelves with telescopic runners, so you're able to interchange them, move them around as you wish. And then on the top, you have a static shelf. On top of that, you have a grill function. And then next to that, you have the steam tank. External tank, fill it with water, and one full load of water is able to prepare a full dish. So you'll never have a situation where you're preparing something and the water runs out. So it's maintained externally and introduces steam into the body of the appliance. New appliance for VZug, as I mentioned, it's game-changing, and it's something I'll talk about at the end when I compare with brands like, for example, Wolf, that tend to produce the bigger appliances. The final appliance I'm going to talk about in this video is Hobs. What's remaining is your laundry appliances, washing machine, tumble dryer, dishwasher, for example. I will talk about them in a separate video because I don't want to make this particular video too lengthy. With the Hobs V6000, you have what is called full flex. You can place a pan absolutely anywhere on the hob and it'll work. Two sizes, 70 centimeters, capacity for 5 pans, and 90 centimeters, capacity for 6 pans. As I mentioned, automatic pan detection. Wherever you place the pan, or if you're using the teppanyaki, for example, depending on where you place it, the hob will automatically be able to detect and operate it from wherever it is positioned. There are 18 power levels on the hob. You have a protective layer on top to make the glass as scratch resistant as possible. You also have a number of functions that you get with the hob. Operated from a touch screen, which is on both the 70 centimeter and 90 centimeter touch screen. Press a button, it illuminates, and you're able to operate the hob from there. You have the option to be able to also pause cooking. If something happens whilst you're preparing food, it pauses, and then when you come back, you can continue. Or if you spill something on the screen, you have the option to be able to pause whilst you wipe whatever the screen is, and then you can resume preparing the food. You also have a number of other functions. There's the automatic pan detection, as I mentioned at the beginning. You have an automatic warm-up function. You also have a memory function within the hob. You also get a couple of others, a reheating function where previously prepared food can be reheated, goes up to a maximum of 85 degrees Celsius, so the food is not overcooked. And then you also have another function called the Auto Power Plus, whereby a ring is able to achieve a very high temperature for 15 minutes or until whatever it is you need to boil has boiled. So that's Hobs in a nutshell. Any questions about any of the appliances I have spoken about earlier on, please let me know in the comments down below. But otherwise, please stay tuned and join me in part 2, where I conclude with the laundry appliances.